Hey guys, tired of feeling stuck in your dating life and striking out in the dating game? You're not alone. Maybe you just need some good coaching. Welcome to Just Ask Her, the no BS podcast for real dating advice straight from a woman's point of view. Dating expert Gracie Pleshcourt and her co-host, certified life coach Tracy Pleshcourt, are here to give you the play-by-play on how to attract more women you're interested in. So, let's take back control of your dating life. This is Just Ask Her.
Welcome back to Just Ask Her, the podcast that helps you date with confidence, connect with real women, and finally feel in control of your dating life. I'm your host, Gracie, here with my mom, co-host, and certified life coach, Tracy, and we're excited to be back for another episode.
Hey. Super excited to be here.
What number is this? 38?
38.
38. 38 weeks of this Just Ask Her podcast.
Yep. If you were pregnant, you'd be giving birth in...
Next week.
Isn't it 40 weeks?
Oh, I thought it was 39.
Maybe it is. It's been way too long. It's been 25 years, so...
Yeah, well, there's a little tidbit for you guys. It's either 39 or 40 weeks.
Yeah. So this week, we're going to start off with a submission from Anthony, who says, "Hi, Gracie and Tracy. Thank you for what you do. You come across as a genuine team that cares about helping men, and I appreciate that. I found Gracie on Instagram, followed because the content was helpful, and started your podcast from the beginning. My situation feels a bit different, and I'm hoping for your insight on how to move on. I'm 32, live in California, own my home, and have a stable job. I've been in 4 longer-term relationships. The most recent lasted almost 2 years. My ex was 6 years older. After feeling pressured to move faster because of her biological clock, I asked her to move in. It was earlier than what I was comfortable with, but I loved her and hoped it would work. It didn't. The breakup was messy and painful for both of us. I gave her 60 days to move out, helped with bills, and let her stay in the master bedroom. When she moved out, she begged me to take her back and then blocked me on every platform. She later posted a highly defamatory message in a private women's Facebook group that warns others about men in the area. The post included my profile photo, first name, and city, plus a one-sided story and private medical information. She eventually deleted some comments, but the original post with my picture is still up. I'm struggling to process the 180 from begging me to reconcile to trying to humiliate me publicly. How do I get past this? I feel betrayed by how far she took it, and now I'm anxious about using dating apps in case women recognize me from that post. My friends and I have reported it, but no luck. Have you seen groups like this before? Is it something I should worry about? I'm speaking with a therapist, but I'd value your thoughts too. Thank you for everything you do, Anthony."
Ooh, this is interesting. Have you seen those groups?
No,
Okay, so you don't know what he's talking about.
I don't, but it very much pisses me off.
So those groups, there's different versions of them, but the ones that it sounds like what he's talking about is, are we dating the same guy? That's what those groups are.
Okay.
And so women created those groups to warn other women of guys that are being dishonest, being unloyal. Maybe they find out that they've been dating a guy that's also been dating another girl, like in a relationship, not just like dating, like early stages, like full-blown relationships. Then they find out that these guys that they've been seeing are actually in another relationship and the other girl has no idea or whatever. And so that's how those groups got started.
Okay.
And I think that now what they've turned into is full-blown group of negativity, just looking for ways to bash men. And to be fair, there are men where it's fully warranted. Some shit that certain men do, so wrong, so uncalled for. Like the whole reason why those groups were even started, like men cheating on their girlfriends and then getting caught and then getting blasted in these groups for it. So to be fair, there are certain situations where that is fully warranted. If you're going to go out and cheat and be gross and do stuff like that, it's on you, my guy. To some extent, you have to learn the lesson the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think those groups, for the most part, are a bunch of bullshit now because they're just full of negative women. I don't think it's productive for women. I don't think it's productive for men. I don't think it makes men behave any differently.
Right.
I can understand why people get so frustrated to the point where they'd want to blast somebody on the internet. But at the end of the day, if that person really did what the post is about, then karma is going to take care of it,
Mhm.
not blasting them on a social media post.
Right. Having anybody publicly humiliate you, you feel so violated. I can completely understand. I can't relate to this extent, but remember when we got the one review on Amazon? It's probably still up, but the person completely attacked us. They were making it so personal, and it was clear that they went to our website, they saw our picture, and then they just decided to attack us. And it hurt so bad. And of course, my immediate reaction was to get super defensive, find out what in the world they're talking about, and try to make good on whatever their real issue was. But at the end of the day, I had to just take a step back and recognize that instead of going on the defense, the better move is to be on the offense and to ask myself, was there any truth to that? Can I find even 10% about what they're saying to be truthful? Because if I can, then at least I can move from victim mentality, this, rage of anger, to a little bit of compassion and empathy because I can see what they might be talking about. And I was able to do that. What really set them off was the fact that we were self-proclaimed, self-made women. And apparently that's like a trigger for them. And this person decided to make a case about the fact that anybody can go and call themselves self-made and then create a book and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's true. Anybody could go build a website and call themselves self-made. And so what? Our mission is to help people and to help them take responsibility for their thoughts and their feelings and their results ultimately. And we know the kind of impact we make. So once I was able to empathize and have some compassion, then my mind was opened up, asking myself, why does it matter? Why am I trying to defend this when I know the truth? I know how much we impact other people's lives. That's the truth. And so it's more of a offensive play than a defensive play. It's an offensive play of self-trust and integrity. And I would never have been happy with my behavior had I really searched this person out and went on the attack or tried to get revenge or whatever, because then I have to live with that. Ultimately, I can live with a whole lot of integrity. I use that as evidence of how I move on and take the high road, but not only, in a distractive way, but in a way that feels very truthful to me. And I can just allow them to be wrong.
Yeah.
And I think, Anthony, that's really what's going to set you free, is just allow her to be wrong. And what I was thinking as I was reading this was, any woman who's on one of these apps or platforms, they're probably engaging more for the entertainment value and the
It's
drama.
just drama.
Yeah.
It's just drama. I think, unpopular opinion, like, those groups are so unhelpful. I understand the intent of why it got started in the first place. If you're sitting in one of those groups, scrolling and trying to catch men, you have bigger problems. Like, if you're operating from that place, you're always going to feel like you're being misled or like you can't trust people. And that is not a place to date from. That is not a healthy place to try to start a relationship from. And so for the men that have been put in these groups, whether you deserved it or not, the women looking at these groups and being super active and contributing to them are likely not the women that would be out seriously dating right now anyways. And I don't mean to make such a blanket statement, but it's very hard to get yourself to a place of actually wanting to trust and really take dating seriously when you're so bogged down by that kind of drama. I would say the bigger concern is, if, like to what you were saying with the Amazon review, if there's any truth to it. If she's blasting you in one of these groups because she's hurt and like it's totally out of context and whatever the situation was, she's painting it out to be something that it wasn't, then yeah, that sucks. But also, you have nothing to worry about. Literally, why are you sitting there worrying? Because the women that meet you, the women that go on dates with you, are not going to have that same impression because that's not you. And if you really didn't do anything, then really, what are you worried about? And if you did do something, then making it your mission to grow from whatever that experience was, whatever had happened, if you had cheated, if you had wronged somebody, instead of worrying what women are going to think about it, maybe put your focus towards worrying about how you think about it and how you feel about it. Otherwise, your priorities are in the wrong spot. If you did something wrong, own it and grow from it and do your best to never make that mistake again.
Yep. And so looking at the facts, doing the work to separate the facts from the story is really going to help you reclaim your internal sense of safety and identity. So the fact is she posted identifying information and personal claims about you online. The story that you're telling yourself that's coming from the primitive fear-based brain is that this is going to follow me for the rest of my life. Women will believe it before I even get a chance to get to know them, and is harmful and it is unacceptable. But it does say a lot about her character and all the women's characters that are on there reading it and engaging with it.
Yeah, that are like actually seriously engaging and like feeding into it. There can be women in those groups that maybe they were wronged and they hopped in one of the groups and whatever, it made them feel better about whatever the situation was, and they're not necessarily active in it. Like, to be so honest, like I only know a couple people that are in groups like that. And again, it just further validates like those couple women that I know that are in those groups, like they are not in a place to be seriously dating. It is more for the drama. It is more for the entertainment value of it. They're probably not the women that you should be worrying about anyways. But outside of that, any single women that I know that are serious about dating are not in those groups. They're not spending their time sitting there hating on men. They're out there trying to actually get out on dates and trying to meet these guys for real. So I understand why this would be so upsetting. And of course, like
100%.
Nobody wants to be posted in a group like that. That sucks, especially if it wasn't valid or if it wasn't accurate information that was being spread about you. Of course, that really sucks. But you need to move forward from the grounds of, I know who I am, and anybody that's not willing to give me a chance because of something that somebody else said without ever getting my side of the story, that's too bad for them. It really is too bad for them. And yeah.
So getting that narrative straight in your mind is going to be part of your work. I would say second to that, it's really tending to your nervous system, because anxiety really starts to narrow your perspective. So before you start dating again, we want you to practice that new narrative, that new identity, and do things that are going to lower the anxiety, the physiological stress. Do certain types of exercise or breath work. That's going to be a key first step for you, is deciding what the narrative is around your own identity and level setting your nervous system. Secondly, decide how you want to respond. It might be an outward response or it might be an inward. If it's just inward, it's probably going to look like step one. But if you actually want to take some action, it might help you to seek some legal advice, because this is defamation. Defamation is actionable when it's false and when it's harmful. But with that being said, lawsuits are very expensive. So you have to weigh all the dynamics of this. But even if you haven't already, I would document the post. I would probably consult an attorney just so you know what your rights are and your options. And even if you end up not acting in a legal way, I think knowing your rights are going to restore your sense of ownership.
Yeah, I also think that it could open the doors for you to just get more angry. It just feeds into anger and like negativity for no reason. That's not helpful for anybody. I think if you're going to take legal action, if you're going to take it that far, it's a little bit of a slippery slope for getting more upset and wound up about it. When
I'm not telling him to take action. I'm telling him to collect all the data.
Yeah.
I want him to know what his rights are so that he feels well informed. I think recognizing that defamation is wrong and it is harmful and you do have rights can just be helpful in returning to some safety. And then he can also make the decision, it's way too expensive and I'm just going to let her be wrong. And I'm going to trust that any woman who is engaging in those kind of communities are probably not for me.
Yeah.
And so they're going to filter themselves out. And that's a good thing for him.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly think, in my opinion, that is the better route. You do have the right to do that if you want to. But at the end of the day, if it's not even true, if it's something that isn't even accurate, why put your time and energy into that? Why give that much power to a situation like this that you don't have any control over anyways when it comes to what she's going to say and how she's going to frame it? That's so unfortunate that she's in a place where she feels like she needs to take it to the internet to like fully blast you on something. I don't think once a cheater, always a cheater. It's like you form into what the relationship is. A lot of times people adapt to the relationship that they're in. And so if you guys weren't meant to be together and the relationship was toxic and you started to become a version of yourself that is not the version that you want to be or feel proud of, that happens in relationships, especially when you're in the relationship with somebody you shouldn't be with, or you're not compatible with, or you don't make each other like the best version of yourselves. That's why stuff like these groups just make no sense to me, because it's like, yes, maybe in one relationship, that person was not great and they did not treat the other person well. But usually it's a two-sided thing. If you're serious about being in a relationship with somebody, hopefully that is your goal, to become the best version of yourself, to always be evolving and to be growing with the other person. If in your last relationship that wasn't you, and that person also didn't bring out the best in you, and you know that now, grow from it.
Right.
Like, instead of taking this as, oh, my life is
Punishment.
over and I'm in this group now and I'm never getting out of it. It's like, you can evolve into a new person, and anybody that goes on a date with you should be able to see that. So
yeah, the men who rise from situations like this are definitely not the ones who avoid the pain.
yeah,
It's clear that this is painful. I think this would be painful for anybody, but learning to trust yourself is really going to be the best strategy. That trust will make you so much more compelling to the right woman than any sort of like perfectly untarnished past.
yeah,
Just like Gracie said, you are growing, you are becoming the next best version of yourself. If there was any truth to what she said, you're human.
Yeah,
and you
just
get
own
to
it.
you
Like-
get to evolve from that. Did she take it too far? Probably. But that says a lot about her reactive, maybe even narcissistic tendencies.
yeah,
And you don't want to be with somebody like that. She's shown you who she is. She's shown the world who she is. Anybody who's engaging on that platform, she's probably has a lot of patterns and probably isn't super credible either because of those patterns. So I'm sorry that you went through this. This is really shitty, but I do believe that you are capable of hearing our advice and executing on that and moving forward.
yeah, I do too. It's finally here. The Self-Made Man Dating Journal is officially live and ready for you to grab on Amazon. This was designed specifically for single men who are serious about improving their dating life. It helps you track your dates, reflect on your experiences, and actually learn from them, so you can stop repeating old patterns and start seeing real progress.
What I love most about this journal is how intentional it is. It's not just about writing down what happened. It's about helping you get clear in what you want, confident in how you're showing up, and connected to what's working and what's not. You'll find daily prompts, weekly reflection pages, and the date log. You'll record everything from how you felt before the date, what went well, what felt off, and what you do differently next time. That kind of self-awareness is what sets successful daters apart. This journal will help you slow down, spot patterns, and become more intentional with every single interaction.
We only printed a limited batch for this first run, so if this is something you've been needing, go grab it now before they're gone. We'll drop the link in the show notes and let us know what you think. We love hearing your guys' feedback.
We can't wait for you to start using the Self-Made Man Dating Journal. All right, submission 2.
Yep. Submission 2 was written in by Alex, and it says, "Dear Gracie and Tracy, I'm 32, quiet, shy, and no dating history, and I would love your thoughts on a situation. This past winter, a neighbor asked if I could help her friend, another neighbor, by shoveling her driveway after she separated from her husband. I was happy to help. In the spring, she asked if I could mow her lawn too, which I agreed to do as well. Our interactions were friendly, but nothing more. A few weeks ago, we bumped into each other on a walk. She had her dogs, and we had a great conversation. I mentioned how well-behaved her dogs were when I was mowing. A few days later, I worked up the courage to ask her to lunch. She politely declined, saying she'd worked the night before and had another shift that night, and she thanked me. So it felt like not right now, not a hard no. My best friend suggested I try again when the timing is better, especially since she was newly separated and might not be ready to date. Then my own schedule got hectic with a yard project and weather delays, and a few weeks slipped by. Now I've seen on social media that her divorce is officially finalized, and she posted about being excited for a new chapter. Should I reach out again, or did I wait too long? Thanks so much for your time. I value your perspective, Alex.
Aren't these good submissions?
So good. So good. These are so interesting.
Okay, Alex, first off, I really appreciate your honesty in this story. I think it takes a lot of courage to admit when you're new to dating and navigating that unfamiliar territory. What stands out to me is 2 major steps that you have taken in the right direction. The first is you positioned yourself as helpful and present and consistent. And second, you just asked her, like you directly asked her, like you weren't dancing around, overthinking it, overcomplicating it. You directly just asked her. And for that, I applaud you. I think both of those things matter probably more than you realize.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to reframe for you, because the real question isn't, did I wait too long? I think what you're asking is more about momentum. Have I lost the momentum? And momentum in dating isn't necessarily related to speed. It's about that continued presence and the emotional relevance. So there was some research done out of the University of Kansas that shows the more interactions, like meaningful interactions that 2 people have, the higher the likelihood of romantic interest is in developing. You've had a few of those moments with her already. The gap of a few weeks doesn't erase that, but it does mean that you need to reestablish that, I would say, before you ask again. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Couple weeks is not a big deal. But I also would tread a little bit lightly with this one. I think her saying no when you had asked, yes, it could have been bad timing. Yes, she probably did have work and she was coming off of a divorce. And so, yes, there were a lot of things stacked against it. Also, I agree with my mom. I think you deserve huge kudos for even asking in the first place. That's amazing. You can only get on dates if you actually ask. So like you've done the first part, which is great. And I wouldn't let her answer discourage you from continuing to do that with her or other women. But I do think when somebody's interested, you know, even if they are busy, they offer at least like an alternative. And also, to be fair, there's plenty of room for growing the relationship. I'm not saying just because she wasn't yet interested that she couldn't get there, but I do think that you need to be cautious of the signs. If you are having interactions with her, maybe a better way to start to grow that relationship, if there is a potential for one, is instead of going through the friend or the other neighbor, maybe go directly to her. Hey, do you need your lawn mowed this week? Right? And bring your support yourself instead of having your friend contact you to then go do it while she's not even home and blah, 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 blah. Give yourself the opportunity to strike up these conversations. You can walk on over and ask her. That's a great opener for knocking on her door and saying, hey, do you need your lawn mowed this week? I'm going to be doing mine, right? That's a great way for you to start getting conversations going. And then maybe you'll have a little bit more time when it's not in passing and you'll be able to start building that interest. Kudos to you for even being the type of guy that would go out and do that, help a neighbor out.
100%.
Like,
100%.
that's so attractive. If she's not interested, other women are going to think she's so attractive. How sweet and thoughtful.
Yeah.
Like, especially for somebody that there's no man in the house. She would otherwise have to pay somebody to do it or do it herself. I would go the route of trying to build this rapport more naturally.
Yep. Reconnect without the pressure.
Yeah.
Don't have the condition or the expectation that because you're willing to be helpful, that it's going to turn into a
Right.
yes, I'll date you. Let this reconnection organically happen. So just be helpful without putting any conditions on it and see where it goes. I also just want to remark on her post about the divorce being finalized or I think she said
Like
something
ready
about
for the next chapter.
Yeah, entering the new chapter. I don't think that necessarily means she's ready for romance. It could mean that she's on the journey of self-discovery.
I mean,
Who
it could mean a
knows?
bunch of different things.
And so I just want you to keep an open mind about that. That might help you reconnect again with less pressure, not thinking that she put that out there as marketing, that she's back on the market. That might not be the case at all.
With situations like this, there's a fine line between putting yourself out there and doing things like mowing her lawn and making it your mission to make a relationship out of this. Doing too much for somebody that you're not even dating, you don't want to slip into that either, because that will have her starting to see you as a friend. That should only happen if you've directly had a conversation with her. If your neighbor reaches out to you and is like, hey, can you do her lawn this week? You could be like, yeah, if she needs me to, if she asks me to. And then it puts in that barrier of, okay, you can't go through your friend anymore. If you want me to come do this, reach out.
Yeah. And he's establishing boundaries for himself.
Yes, exactly.
This isn't some ultimatum, but the boundaries are meant for yourself.
Yeah.
Which is also going to help you show up with the integrity, the clarity, and the self-respect, because it keeps you from feeling like you're in pursuit or that you're chasing her. You do not want to fall into that sort of identity.
You don't want to be like chasing somebody that like you don't even know is available.
Yeah.
You can start to build a good rapport with her before doing her lawn or whatever. If you see her on more walks, make an intentional effort to strike up these conversations and be like, hey, I walk this trail all the time. If you ever want to go for a walk, we should plan it sometime so we can make these conversations longer. Something as simple as that. You already know she's going on these walks. Plan them out so they're at the same time and you can get to know her better. So to answer your question about should you ask her out again, I think that you should make more of an effort to get in front of her, have real conversations like the one that you had on the walk. That was a natural way of you being able to ask her out to lunch. I think get more of those, give yourself more opportunities with her to have those types of conversations. And if it feels right in the moment and you can find a good segue, like you guys are talking about how, oh, she was out and tried this new patio last weekend with her girlfriends. You can say, oh, you know what? I know of the best patio in the city. Why don't I take you there next week? Right? If you can find a seamless transition through these conversations that you're having, I don't think there's any harm in asking her. But I just wouldn't put so much pressure on how am I going to find the perfect time to be able to ask her out. Just make the goal having genuine conversations with her. And when the opportunity is there and you feel like you guys are hitting it off through the conversation, make an ask again. You're sitting in a good place because, like I said, I think it's rare that guys are going to go out of their way to do stuff like that.
Stay focused on who it is that you are, what it is that you bring to the table, the integrity that you have. It will help you take your focus off of the outcome.
Yeah.
You probably have heard us say this before, but detaching from the outcome is such good advice, but it's way easier said than done.
Yeah.
That's where the emotional adulthood really comes in. If she says yes to your next offer, great. But if she says no, you've still shown up with the integrity and the clarity and the self-respect. That's what self-confidence looks like in action.
If you do start building a rapport and a friendship with her and she's nowhere near the place of wanting to be in a relationship or whatever, she might have some single friends that are. And guess who she's going to tell her single friends about? The guy that comes over out of the goodness of his heart and does her lawn for her and make sure she's taken care of as she's going through this really hard time. Lean into new relationships, whether it's friendly or not. You can always benefit from having more people in your corner. You're sitting in a really good place.
Yeah. Thanks for writing, Alex, and make sure that you keep us in the loop. Hey there. If you're loving the Just Ask Her podcast, please take a quick second to rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It helps more awesome listeners like you find the show. And don't forget to spread the love by sharing this episode with all of your friends. All right, back to Just Ask Her. Okay, submission 3 is from Jake. He writes in, my name is Jake and I'm from New Zealand. I moved from Australia to New Zealand to change my life and start a new career before I get too old. I'm bracing myself. I'm 32 years old. And have been out of the dating scene for 5 years since my last relationship. A few months ago, I met an amazing woman at a bar while on holiday. She's also from Australia and now lives in New Zealand. Our chemistry was unlike anything I've experienced. We exchanged numbers and for months talked every day, texting and video chatting for hours, like we were already a couple. I even spoke with her friends and her daughter over the phone. She told me I was the one, her soulmate, and that I was different from any guys she'd met. She said she wanted to marry me, and I felt the same. We talked about our future, even how many kids we might have. I booked flights to her hometown to meet her family and friends, people she'd been raving about to me. I was over the moon. Then things shifted after she had a Reiki healing session, which is an energy healing session. I don't know if you know what those are. Something felt different. I gave her space, assuming she'd open up when she was ready. A week later, 5 days before my flight, she said she had doubts about us. Sensing her pull away, I would probably chase too hard. We argued, and it ended with, "It was nice to meet you." I was shocked. After all of our plans and with my trip days away, I felt confused and hurt. Still, I let her go. I won't force someone to be with me. So I didn't reach out. I took the trip anyway, since the flights were non-refundable. Part of me hoped she'd message or show up. She didn't. I spent the first day crying in my hotel room, feeling like I'd ruined something special. Then she blocked me on WhatsApp. That was 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard from her since. I wonder if an old flame came back, but who knows? It hurts that she said all those things and then disappeared. Now I just want to forget her. What was this situation? Either way, I think I'm ready to open myself up to dating again and turn this hurt into something positive. That's a quick turnaround.
It probably wasn't that quick for you.
No.
In the submission, yeah.
Jake, I appreciate your openness. Sharing a story like this requires a lot of vulnerability, and what you experienced does not sound like it was just some casual fling. It sounds like it was this emotional surge. What do you call it? You call it future tripping, right? I think the term like in psychology is emotional fast tracking. And that's when this deep, deep connection and intimacy and future planning happens really, really quickly. It can feel intoxicating, but it also comes with a ton of risks, and research backs that up. Another study out of the University of Kansas found that it takes about 40 to 60 hours of quality time to develop just a casual friendship. And it takes over 80 to 100 hours to become close friends, and over 200 hours to build deep, stable trust. So what you two shared happened in weeks or maybe months. And it was like really compressing these emotional milestones into a timeline that doesn't allow for that natural test and repair cycles that all healthy relationships go through.
Yeah, we've talked about that on quite a few episodes previous to this one. Our brains are not wired to connect with somebody, like legitimately connect with somebody that quickly. And so if you're feeling after just a few weeks enamored and infatuated and completely convinced that they are the one, that should be setting off alarm bells in your head. Like, okay, I'm excited. Now let's like bring myself back down to earth a little bit, because our brain is constantly scanning for danger. And when you're experiencing excitement, it's so funny. We talk about this as like excitement and anxiety show up in a lot of the same ways in the body. And your brain can't decipher like whether or not this is excitement or it's anxiety. Mm-hmm. And you're not meant to be like riding that high for so long. Your brain is going to give out at some point. Like it will level set. And so I always tell this to clients, because it's so easy to get in like this love bubble with somebody. And at some point, your brain is going to crash out. And it's not because you do something or they did something wrong. It's because you're not meant to be in this like fight or flight state all the time. Your brain is always trying to like keep you safe. If you're constantly getting these dopamine hits and you're never coming back down, it feels like riding this high for however many weeks and you're never bringing it back down, one of you is going to give. And it always happens. It always happens.
Yeah.
And again, it's not because something went wrong or you did something or she did something.
It probably was the Reiki session.
Well, that woo-woo shit, I don't really know what to make of it. I can't tell you what that is or what.
I told you what it is.
Okay, her healing journey? I don't know.
I said energy. So it's a lot of what you're talking about. It's like they were on this super high, and then she went and had an energy healing session.
She fast-tracked it. And
it came crashing down, probably.
Yeah.
So I blame it on the Reiki. No, I don't. I do think that it is every bit of what Gracie is saying. And
yeah,
I do want to credit you for recognizing that chasing her harder probably made her retreat even faster. That's some good awareness that is hard to have after a breakup. So good on you to step back and look at, okay, what could I have done different? Taking a little bit of responsibility. It's very likely that what Gracie just explained is what happened.
Yeah. When you're in that infatuated state, usually you're still seeing the signs of where things are not totally aligned, but it's easier to dismiss when you're so infatuated and so excited. But once you do come back down and you're not operating on high endorphins, then your brain starts to think with a little bit more logic, like, oh, wait, we aren't actually aligned in this place. Or, oh, wait, I don't know if we could make this work or whatever. There probably were some signs out of the gate, things that were maybe not fully aligned, that if we weren't so infatuated and so excited, that you probably would see them a little bit quicker. There were probably signs. And so it probably didn't just all of a sudden come out of nowhere. She probably had things she was thinking about. And maybe you too. Once your brain and emotions start to regulate a little bit, those things come to light. You can't run away from the fact she's a mom. Fact is, she has a daughter to think about, right? There are things that probably make sense for why she's thinking hard about whether this relationship would work or not. She probably did hit a point where things started to level off and she had some time away from you where the endorphins weren't as high and she started to consider these things. And that is not any fault of yours. It's not any fault of hers. It doesn't sound like some big blow up happened or somebody did something wrong. It just sounds like maybe having the space and this Reiki, whatever, maybe it gave her space to actually think a little bit more logically about whether or not this would work out, and it freaked her out.
Yep. So here's the reframe for you, Jake. This wasn't the love of your life. It was a love experience that showed you what's possible for connections going forward. And the good news is you're ready to date again, right?
Yes.
So because you're ready to date, we need to ask ourselves, what lessons are we going to learn from?
Great question.
And really put into play in the next relationship. So your work now isn't to never get hurt again. It's to develop this emotional pacing where you let the attraction and the connection unfold without skipping those very essential components. So that's going to look like allowing the get to know you phase to breathe. Like you have to keep your conversations and plans rooted in present instead of fast forwarding to marriage and kids.
Yeah, realistically, you can't know whether or not every stage is going to work out until you're actually in that stage. So even if things were great in the beginning, in the honeymoon phase, you guys were hitting it off and getting along and things were aligning, things could look very different when you get married. And that's a whole new transition of being a couple and being committed and all the things. And then things could look very different again when you have kids. And so this idea of I found the one and she's the love of my life and that nothing could ever change that. No, lots of things could change that. And I don't say that to be negative or to be like, you should never get excited about somebody, like the potential of that with somebody. But I also see it way too often where guys have a great date, which I don't even know. Did they go on a date? I don't know if you guys were like going on dates and like actually getting the in-person connection. It sounds like a lot of this was happening over text and video chat. Well, an online experience is very different than an in-person one. You guys could be good at conversation, but how are you with physical chemistry and intimacy? And that's also important and needs to be there. You guys could be in person and not like fully click that way. There's so many different things that if you haven't even gone on a date, like a real date, like I get it, like long distance, like you got to do what you got to do to make it work and the video chatting and the texting, whatever. But again, it's like, you don't know what she could be like in a relationship in real life yet. So thinking about your children's names, like it's not helpful. I feel negative saying that, but it's true. And I think it's the reality that so many people dismiss because they get excited about somebody. And it's really fun to be excited and it's really fun to be dating somebody that you hit it off with and you click so well with and you're excited about. But you also have to keep in mind that there's so many other stages that we've got to move through first before you start having conversations or like really actually considering marriage and kids and like what the life you guys are going to have is going to look like.
Yeah. And you also said something about wanting to forget all this so that you can move on. And that's really normal. Heartbreak makes us want to forget someone quickly. But neuroscience tells us that emotional memories fade faster when we integrate them rather than suppress them. God, that is so true. I have learned that through so many different painful experiences. The ones that I try to suppress, it just doesn't work. But if you own it and you journal about it and
you just call it out for what it is. I'm sad. I'm bummed. This didn't work. Of course I'm sad.
You allow yourself to have those feelings.
Yeah.
That's what integrating it looks like versus pretending it didn't happen or wishing it didn't happen. It's like, no, it happened. And it's actually part of your life. And you can use it.
Learning experience.
Yeah, you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
So,
and two things can be true at once. You can be sad and still want to put yourself back out there.
Right. So, Jake, this definitely was not wasted time. I would look at it as training, especially because you're ready to get back on the horse and get out there. You're walking into this next dating chapter with way more clarity, more self-awareness, and if you choose it, more emotional patience. Patience, right? That's what you've got to have going into these next relationships. And that's how you turn pain into a better story next time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. That concludes episode 38.
Yeah, these were good submissions. Thank you all for writing in.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Yes. Keep them coming.
Yeah. And in the meantime, be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Dating with Gracie. We put out new episodes every single week on Wednesdays. But in the meantime, no matter where you are or what situation you're in, just ask her.